You could hear it before you even opened the door. Plastic wheels screeching on pavement, Ceefax buzzing on the telly, and the clink of milk bottles at dawn. None of it's here anymore. But if you grew up in Britain in the 1980s, every one of these memories is burned into your bones. We dug up 10 things we truly miss from that wild, colorful, unforgettable decade. And warning, some of them might hit you right in the nostalgia. The ZX Spectrum. Before smartphones, before PlayStations, there was the ZX Spectrum. A rubber-keyed marvel that turned British living rooms into pixelated battlegrounds. Released in 1982 by Sinclair Research, it wasn't just a computer, it was a rite of passage. Kids learned to code, load games from cassette tapes, and type commands like load while praying it wouldn't crash halfway through. It sold over 5 million units and introduced a generation to games like Manic Miner and Jet Set Valley. For many in Great Britain, it was the first time technology felt personal, noisy, and painfully slow. But no one cared. It made you feel like the future had arrived. In the kitchens of 1980s Britain, the SodaStream was practically a badge of honor. With a satisfying hiss, it turned boring tap water into fizzy magic. Kids loved mixing their own cola or orange flavors, often way too strong, while parents hoped it would save money on canned drinks. It wasn't just a gadget, it was a mini science lab on the countertop. Get busy with the fizzy wasn't just a slogan, it was a challenge. The paper round. Before smartphones and weekend lie-ins, many British kids had a paper round. Waking up before 6:00 a.m., rain or shine, to deliver newspapers door to door was a rite of responsibility and a source of pocket money. It taught discipline, grit, and the value of a crisp £5 note. Back then, news wasn't digital, and every street had someone cycling with a heavy canvas bag. For many, it was their first job. And the quiet streets of dawn still hold the echoes of rattling letterboxes. Knight Rider and Kit. When Michael Knight hit British screens in the mid-1980s, everything changed. Knight Rider wasn't just another import, it was must-watch television. And Kit, the talking car, became an instant icon. Every kid wanted one, and every commercial break felt like an eternity. Aired on ITV, it combined action, tech, and slick American cool in a way that stood out from anything else on telly. Friday nights felt electric, and playgrounds buzzed with talk about the latest episode. If you could bring back just one show from the 1980s, would it be this one? Mini milk ice creams. Cheap, cheerful, and unforgettable. Mini milk ice creams were a staple of British childhood in the 1980s. For just a few pence, you got a creamy, milky treat that somehow felt both simple and perfect. No chocolate coating, no gimmicks, just frozen nostalgia on a stick. They came in strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate, and they melted faster than you could eat them. Every corner shop freezer had them, and every summer memory seemed to include one. Before Spotify and Bluetooth, the Sony Walkman was the height of cool in 1980s Britain. It gave you the power to carry music in your pocket, with chunky headphones and that satisfying click of a cassette door. Suddenly, the world had a soundtrack, and it was yours. Tapes wore out, batteries drained fast, and you'd use a pencil to rewind them. But none of that mattered. Wearing a Walkman felt like freedom, even if your tape only had 9 songs. Saturday morning cartoons. There was no streaming, no pause button. and no second chances if you missed Saturday morning cartoons. British kids in the 1980s would wake up early, bowl of cereal in hand, to catch shows like The Raccoons, Dungeons and Dragons, and He-Man. For a few sacred hours, telly belonged entirely to kids. It felt like a weekly holiday, with flashing colors, over-the-top intros, and characters that lived rent-free in your imagination all week long. Ceefax and teletext. Long before the internet, Ceefax and teletext were Britain's window to instant news, football scores, weather, and even quizzes, all on your TV screen. Launched by the BBC in the 1970s but thriving in the 1980s, they looked like something out of a sci-fi comic. Blocky text, neon colors, and page numbers you had to type in. It was slow, clunky, and completely addictive. Page 302 for football, page 100 for headlines. Everyone had their favorites, and somehow it felt like magic that it worked at all. The shell suit. No fashion trend screamed 1980s Britain louder than the shell suit. Made from shiny, swishy material in clashing neon colors, it was part tracksuit, part statement, and entirely unforgettable. Worn by kids, teens, and even the occasional gran, it became a staple from high streets to school discos. They weren't breathable, they weren't subtle, but they were everywhere. Matching top and bottoms were non-negotiable, and the louder the pattern, the cooler you looked, at least back then. Woolworths, Woolies. Woolies, as everyone called it, was the beating heart of the British high street in the 1980s. You could buy pick-and-mix sweets, cassette singles, toys, school supplies, and even socks, all under one roof. No trip to town was complete without popping in. It wasn't just a shop, it was a ritual. The smell of the pick-and-mix aisle alone is burned into memory. And losing Woolworths felt like the end of an era no one was ready for. Maybe it's the sounds, the smells, or the colors, but some memories from 1980s Britain never really leave you. These weren't just things. They were part of how we grew up, laughed, learned, and connected with the world around us. Which one hit you the hardest? Or is there something we missed that still lives rent-free in your memory? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your stories. And if this trip back in time made you smile, leave a like and subscribe to help more people rediscover the magic, because sometimes the past isn't gone.